The alien venom was supposed to kill him in less than 10 minutes. Every species in the galaxy knew that. Every species except humans. The crystal sky above planet Iliara burned orange as the twin suns began to set. Dr. Ethan Areo never believed he would die on a diplomatic mission. He was not a soldier. He was a biochemist. But as the six-eyed predator lunged from the glowing grasslands and sank its fangs deep into his arm, he realized something terrible. This was no accident. Ambassador Lyra Chen screamed as security fired plasma rounds into the beast. The creature collapsed, its dark silver body twitching. But it was too late. Ethan could already feel the venom spreading like ice through his veins. The alien council guards froze in horror. Their translucent skin flickered pale blue, a sign of fear in their species. The Sarath toxin, one of them whispered. No cure exists. Ethan dropped to one knee. His arm burned like fire and frost at the same time. Purple veins spread beneath his skin. His heart pounded wildly. Lyra knelt beside him. Stay with me, Ethan. Medical drone is coming. But the alien guards did not move. Do something, she shouted. One of the council elders stepped forward slowly. His voice trembled. Human, the Sarath venom dissolves neural pathways. It shuts down muscles. It stops breathing. No civilization has survived it. Ethan forced a weak smile. Good thing humans are stubborn. He collapsed fully onto the glowing grass. The council guards finally activated a hovering medical platform and lifted him. They rushed toward the crystal towers of the city. Above them, the sky darkened. Inside the alien medical chamber, strange lights scanned Ethan's body. Holographic symbols flickered in the air. The alien physicians moved with precision, but their movements carried quiet panic. Venom saturation at 40%, one doctor said. He has minutes. Lyra stood beside the chamber, fists clenched. You said you wanted peace with Earth. If he dies, this alliance dies with him. An elder looked at her gravely. We did not release the predator. That sentence hung in the air. This attack had been planned. Ethan's breathing became shallow. His fingers twitched. The venom attacked his nerves exactly as described in the alien database. It was elegant, perfect, deadly. But as the machine scanned his blood, something unexpected happened. One of the physicians gasped. The toxin is degrading. What? The elder demanded. The hologram zoomed in. The venom molecules were breaking apart. Slowly. Very slowly. But they were breaking. How is this possible? Another physician whispered. Lyra stepped closer to the screen. Ethan's blood cells were releasing unusual enzyme chains. Human antibodies were attacking the venom's protein structure. Not perfectly. Not cleanly. But they were fighting. Ethan's eyes opened halfway. Don't let them study me yet, he muttered. Lyra leaned close. You're not dying. Your body is fighting it. A weak laugh escaped him. Told you, stubborn. The alien physicians stared in disbelief. No species has natural resistance, one said. We don't, Lyra replied calmly. We adapt. Minutes passed. The venom continued spreading, but the rate slowed. Ethan's heart stabilized slightly. The elder's eyes narrowed. His blood chemistry is altering itself. That was true. Human physiology was chaotic compared to alien biological perfection. Human immune systems were aggressive, unpredictable, sometimes dangerous. But that chaos had power. The venom proteins were complex, designed to lock onto nerve receptors. But human blood carried enzymes built to break down almost anything. Toxins, bacteria, strange compounds. Millions of years of surviving Earth had made humans chemically creative. Ethan suddenly gritted his teeth in pain. It's not enough. The scan confirmed it. His body was fighting, but not fast enough. Lyra felt her stomach drop. How long? 8 minutes, an alien physician answered softly. Silence filled the chamber. Then Ethan whispered something that changed everything. Take my blood. The elder blinked. Explain. Filter it. Concentrate the reactive enzymes. Inject it back. The alien doctors looked uncertain. That is reckless. You could accelerate organ failure. Ethan forced his eyes open fully. Or I could survive. The room hesitated. Then Lyra stepped forward. Do it. The alien physicians moved quickly. Tubes connected to Ethan's arm. Dark red human blood flowed into a spinning alien device. The machine hummed as it separated components at a molecular level. They isolated the most reactive proteins, unstable, aggressive enzyme clusters. Re-injecting modified plasma, one physician said. The fluid returned into Ethan's bloodstream. For a moment, nothing happened. Then every alarm in the chamber sounded at once. Massive immune spike. The venom structure is collapsing. On the hologram, the Sarath toxin chains unraveled like burned threads. Human enzymes attacked their molecular bonds mercilessly. Ethan arched in pain. His body shook violently, but the purple veins began to fade. Breathing returned to his lungs. Heartbeat stabilized. And then, silence. The alarms stopped. The venom was gone. The alien physicians stared at the screen as if witnessing magic. The elder slowly turned to Lyra. Your species weaponized its own blood. She shook her head. No. We survived our own planet first. Ethan's eyes opened fully this time. Weak. Exhausted. But alive. He managed a faint grin. Guess I'm hard to kill. The elder stepped closer to the medical chamber. His voice carried something new. Respect. The Sarath toxin was used in ancient wars. Entire civilizations fell to it. And yet your body dismantled it through adaptation. Ethan swallowed painfully. You said no cure existed. For us, the elder replied quietly. A guard suddenly rushed into the chamber. Elder. Security reports show sabotage in the outer perimeter. Someone released the predator intentionally. The room froze again. This was not an accident. This was an assassination attempt. Lyra's eyes hardened. Someone doesn't want peace. The elder looked at Ethan, the human who had just survived the deadliest venom known to the galaxy. Perhaps, the elder said slowly, they underestimated humanity. Outside the Crystal City, shadows moved in the darkening fields. Whoever planned the attack now faced a terrifying truth. The species they tried to eliminate had just proven something extraordinary. Human blood was not weakness. It was rebellion. And the galaxy had just witnessed the first sign that Earth was not prey. It was something far more dangerous. And this was only the beginning. Ethan Ario should have been resting, but sleep refused to come. His arms still ached where the predator had bitten him, and his muscles felt like they had been scraped raw from the inside. Yet the worst pain wasn't physical. It was the thought that someone had tried to kill him to stop peace. From the balcony of the alien medical wing, he could see the city of Iliara glowing at night. Crystal towers rose like frozen lightning into the sky. Floating lanterns drifted between bridges made of glass stone. Everything looked peaceful. But Ethan's instincts, sharpened by years of lab accidents and near disasters, screamed one truth. Peace was being hunted. Ambassador Lyra Chen stood beside him, arms folded, face tight with anger. They released a Sarath predator right where we were walking. That's not a mistake. That's a message. Ethan nodded slowly. And they didn't expect me to live. Behind them, the elder council physician, Varel Tursin, entered quietly. Varel's species looked fragile to humans. Translucent skin, long delicate fingers, silver eyes. But Varel's gaze carried weight, like an ocean that had survived storms for centuries. You are cleared to walk, Varel said. But we cannot guarantee your safety. That's honest, Ethan replied. Varel hesitated. Your blood, it should not have done what it did. Ethan exhaled. Humans shouldn't survive half the things we do. Yet here we are. Varel's silver eyes narrowed. We ran your samples through our archives. Your enzymes were not merely resistant. They adapted during the Venom exposure. The proteins shifted shape to fit the toxin like a custom tool. Lyra turned sharply. That means it can happen again. Varel's voice lowered. It means your species may be the first in galactic history with a living cure. The words hit Ethan like a second bite. A cure. Not just for him. For everyone. Ethan stared out at the city again. If the wrong people hear this. They will come, Varel said quietly. Not to negotiate. To harvest. Lyra's jaw clenched. Then we keep this quiet. Ethan turned toward her. We can't. If there's a faction using predators as weapons, they already know humans are here. Hiding won't stop them. A soft chime sounded from Lyra's wrist communicator. Her eyes scanned the holographic display, then widened. The council just called an emergency assembly, she said. The outer sentries found a dead guard, poisoned. Varel's posture stiffened. Sareth Venom. Lyra nodded slowly. And the guard's weapon was stolen. Ethan's stomach tightened. So they're inside the city. They moved quickly through a corridor of crystal panels lit with pale blue glow. 2 alien guards followed them, their steps silent, weapons held ready. Ethan noted how their hands trembled just slightly. Even armed, they were afraid. Because fear was a language the galaxy had learned long before humans arrived. The council chamber was a massive dome with floating platforms arranged in a circle. Elders hovered in place on shimmering discs. Their voices echoed through the chamber like music made of glass. Elder Merok, the oldest among them, spoke first. Tonight, an agent of the Car Dominion entered our sacred city. The name made the chamber murmur. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Car Dominion. Varel whispered to Ethan, they are an expansion empire. They do not negotiate. They absorb. Ethan's mind ran through possibilities. And they use Sareth Venom. Varel gave a grim nod. They weaponized it long ago. Elder Merok continued, this attack was meant to destroy the human alliance before it began. Lyra stepped forward boldly. Then let them know they failed. The elders turned their silver eyes toward her. Ethan felt the tension. He could almost hear the fear under the diplomacy. The elders wanted peace, but peace was expensive. And fear always demanded payment. Elder Merok's voice sharpened. Human ambassador, your biologist survived the venom. How? Lyra glanced at Ethan. The truth was a blade. If they spoke it here, it could either unite the galaxy, or invite slaughter. Ethan stepped forward anyway. My blood fought it, he said simply. And with your tech, we concentrated the reaction. The chamber erupted with whispers. One elder spoke sharply. That is impossible. Ethan held steady. On Earth, impossible is a suggestion. That line drew silence. Elder Merok leaned forward. If your blood can neutralize Sareth Venom, then you are a threat. Lyra's voice rose. Or an answer. The elders exchanged looks. Ethan realized something then. The greatest danger wasn't the Car Dominion outside. It was fear inside the room. Fear that humans would change the balance of power. Fear that humans were too adaptable. Fear that humanity might become impossible to control. A new voice joined the debate, cold, sharp, and confident. You see, it said. They admit they are dangerous. Ethan's head snapped toward the speaker. A council advisor stood on a lower platform. Sleth Varuan, a thin alien with dark, smoky skin and mechanical implants along his neck. Ethan had seen him earlier, standing quietly in the background. He seemed like a bureaucrat. Now he sounded like an executioner. Sleth stepped forward. Humans are chaos. Their bodies rewrite chemistry in real time. Their minds invent weapons out of desperation. If we welcome them, we invite war into our sanctuary. Lyra stared at him. And you would rather surrender to the Dominion? Sleth smiled faintly. Better to submit than to unleash a storm you cannot control. Ethan felt his blood run cold. This wasn't just fear. This was collaboration. Before anyone could react, a pulse of energy hit the chamber. The lights flickered. Alien guards stumbled. Then smoke poured from hidden vents. Gas! Lyra shouted. Ethan grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. He held his breath, but the air burned his lungs anyway. The elders coughed, their translucent skin flashing red, panic and pain. Ethan's vision blurred. Somewhere through the haze, Sleth Varrowan moved smoothly, unaffected. He had planned this. A guard raised his weapon, but Sleth tossed a small device that flashed white. The guard collapsed instantly. Ethan's heart hammered. Neurotoxin. Not Sareth venom. A different poison. Designed for speed. Ethan dropped to one knee, fighting dizziness. His mind screamed for oxygen, but he forced himself to stay alert. Then he saw something small and terrible. The device Sleth tossed onto the floor wasn't just gas. It was a beacon. A signal. A door being opened. The dome ceiling shimmered, and a section of the air itself tore apart like fabric. A portal. Car Dominion tech. Armored figures stepped through, taller than humans, covered in black plating with red light pulsing at their joints. Their helmets had no faces, only a glowing slit like a predator's eye. Ethan felt Lyra's hand tighten around his sleeve. The elders cried out. Car soldiers raised their weapons. Their leader spoke in a voice like metal grinding. By order of the Dominion, the human specimen will be taken. Specimen. Not ambassador. Not ally. Not person. Ethan forced himself upright, even as his limbs trembled. You're making a mistake. The car leader tilted his helmet slightly. You are a resource. Your blood will fuel our conquest. Lyra stepped between them. Over my dead body. The leader raised his weapon. That can be arranged. Ethan's thoughts raced. They were outnumbered. Poisoned. Disoriented. The aliens around him were weak in thick air, and now half the chamber was choking. But humans? Humans were built for bad air. Humans fought in smog, smoke, deserts, trenches, ruins. Earth had trained them for this. Ethan ripped open a small pouch from his belt, an emergency lab sealant used to stabilize biological samples. He smashed it onto the floor. Foam expanded instantly, hardening like stone. It blocked the vent. Lyra coughed, eyes wide. Ethan! Help me! Ethan shouted at the nearest alien guard. Seal the others. The guard hesitated, then moved. Ethan grabbed another pouch, threw it to Lyra. Plug vents. She didn't ask questions. She acted. Because that was human strength too. Not muscle. Decision. Speed. The gas thinned in their area. Ethan's mind sharpened again. He looked at the car soldiers advancing, weapons ready. He needed an advantage. Any advantage. His eyes fell on the chamber's central display, a floating holographic projector connected to the council's power core. A power core that could flood the dome with electromagnetic pulses. Ethan turned to Varel, who was barely standing. Can that projector overload? Varel coughed. Yes, but it could disable our security systems. Ethan's eyes hardened. They already did. Varel stared at him, then nodded weakly. How? Ethan's voice became steady, even as fear pressed against his ribs. Because humans don't win by having better weapons. He pointed toward the car. We win by changing the rules. Ethan sprinted toward the projector. A car soldier fired. The beam hit the floor inches from Ethan's foot, blasting molten crystal upward. He kept running. Another shot. This one grazed his shoulder, burning through fabric. Pain exploded. He didn't stop. He reached the projector and slammed his palm into the control panel. Alien symbols flashed. He didn't understand them. But he didn't need to. Because humans didn't always need perfect plans. They needed bold ones. He ripped open his own medical injector and jabbed it into the projector's power line, injecting a concentrated sample of his blood, still full of reactive enzyme chains. The system screamed in warning tones. Varel shouted, What are you doing? Ethan shouted back, giving it something new to react with. The enzymes attacked the projector's cooling gel, breaking down stabilizers. Heat surged. Energy spiked. The hologram flared bright white. The car soldiers halted, suddenly cautious. Their leader barked, "Stop him!" Too late. The projector exploded in a wave of electromagnetic force. Lights died instantly. The portal flickered. Car helmets sparked. Their weapons shut off mid-charge. The entire chamber fell into darkness. But in that darkness, Ethan heard something beautiful. Human breathing. Steady. Controlled. He had trained for chaos. The car had not. Lyra's voice cut through the dark, fierce and clear. Now! Human security, 2 Earth Marines who had been waiting outside the chamber, burst in with ballistic weapons designed for close-range combat. Gunfire thundered. Car armor cracked. The aliens stumbled, disoriented without their tech. Ethan's chest tightened with sudden hope. Because for the first time, the galaxy's greatest predators were fighting without their claws. And humans? Humans had fought without claws their whole history. They had made claws. They had made fire. They had made steel. They had made medicine out of desperation. And now, they were about to make victory out of blood. The darkness inside the council dome lasted only seconds. But in war, seconds decide history. When emergency lights flickered back on, the car soldiers were on the ground. Their armor sparked uselessly, their weapons dead from the electromagnetic blast. Human Marines stood over them, breathing hard but steady. Ethan leaned against the cracked projector console, shoulder bleeding, chest rising fast. His body trembled, not from fear now, but from adrenaline draining away. The car leader tried to stand. One Marine pressed a boot against his chest plate and forced him back down. Silence filled the chamber. Alien elders stared at the scene in disbelief. The invaders who had conquered systems, neutralized by a scientist with his own blood. Elder Marok slowly lowered himself from his platform. His silver eyes reflected something deeper than shock. Understanding. You turned your biology into a weapon, he said quietly. Ethan shook his head weakly. No. I turned it into a shield. Lyra stepped beside him, helping him stay upright. And shields are stronger than fear. Security teams dragged the unconscious car soldiers away. The portal device was sealed. Sleth Varuan, the collaborator, had vanished in the chaos. But the immediate threat was over. For now. Varel approached with a scanning device. You lost more blood than is safe. Ethan managed a tired grin. Seems to be my specialty. But even as medics treated him, a larger realization began spreading through the chamber. The elders were not looking at Ethan with suspicion anymore. They were looking at him with possibility. Marok spoke again, his voice carrying across the dome. The Dominion came for the humans' blood. He paused. They will come again. A murmur of fear rippled outward. Ethan forced himself to stand straighter. His arm throbbed, but his mind was clear. Then we make sure they regret it. Marok studied him. Explain. Ethan walked slowly to the central platform. The shattered projector still smoked at its base. You've spent centuries trying to avoid war with the Dominion, he said. You hid. You negotiated. You surrendered ground. Marok did not deny it. They use Sareth Venom because it creates terror, Ethan continued. No cure. No defense. Instant death. He looked around the chamber at alien faces of many shapes and colors. But that's over. Varel inhaled sharply. You cannot mean to distribute your blood. Ethan met his gaze calmly. Not my blood alone. He gestured to Lyra. To Earth. The chamber fell completely silent. Lyra understood immediately. You want to replicate the enzyme chain. Ethan nodded. My body adapted. That means it's possible. With your biotech and our medical science, we can engineer a universal counteragent. Marok's voice was cautious. The Dominion will see that as a declaration of war. Ethan's eyes hardened. They already declared it. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Varel slowly lifted his scanner. If we sequence the adaptive enzyme clusters, we may be able to synthesize them. And not just for venom, Lyra added quietly. For toxins, bioweapons, neural agents. Understanding spread across the elders like sunrise. Humans were not just resistant. Humans were adaptable in real time. And that adaptability could become protection for everyone. Marok straightened. You are offering us something no species has ever possessed. Ethan's voice remained simple. A chance. Before anyone could respond, alarms sounded again. But this time, they came from orbit. A council technician projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. A massive Car Dominion fleet hovered beyond Iliara's atmosphere. Black warships like jagged blades against the stars. They had not come for stealth anymore. They had come for dominance. A transmission cut through all frequencies. The car leader's image appeared, another armored figure, larger than the soldiers below. You possess property of the Dominion, the voice growled. Return the human specimen and your world will be spared. The chamber filled with tension thick enough to suffocate. Ethan stepped forward into view of the transmission. I'm not property, he said calmly. The car leader tilted his helmet. You are biological advantage. Ethan shook his head. You don't understand humans. The leader's voice sharpened. Surrender or be erased. Ethan felt Lyra's presence beside him. He felt the Marines behind him. He saw Varel and Marok watching. The galaxy was holding its breath. Ethan took a slow breath of his own. Then he said the most human thing possible. No. The transmission cut. In orbit, Dominion warships shifted into attack formation. Inside the dome, fear threatened to rise again. But something had changed. Marok raised his voice. All defense platforms activate. Varel turned to Ethan. If we fail. Ethan interrupted gently. You won't. Your confidence is remarkable, Varel said. Ethan smiled faintly. It's not confidence. It's history. Above the planet, Dominion ships fired first. Beams of red energy streaked toward Iliara's defense grid. Crystal satellites activated, projecting shields of refracted light. The first impact shook the atmosphere. Inside the chamber, technicians moved rapidly. Ethan grabbed Lyra's communicator. Patch me to Earth Command. Seconds later, a familiar human face appeared, Admiral Torres of the United Earth Fleet. Dr. Rao, she said sharply. We detected Dominion signatures. Status. Ethan did not waste time. They want my blood. Torres blinked once. Of course they do. Ethan almost laughed. That's not the important part, he continued. We can synthesize resistance. Torres' expression shifted. Meaning, she asked. Meaning the Dominion's greatest weapon just became obsolete. Silence. Then Torres' eyes sharpened with something fierce. Transmission received, she said quietly. Uploading fleet coordinates. Behind her image, human warships moved into formation. Unlike Dominion ships, human vessels were not sleek. They were practical. Modular. Built for repair and modification. Built by a species that expected things to break. Torres spoke again. You didn't just survive, Doctor. She allowed herself a small smile. You escalated. Ethan looked up at the hologram of Dominion ships firing again. He felt fear. But he also felt something stronger. Determination. Because humans had learned one lesson across thousands of years. If something tried to kill them, they studied it. They adapted. And then they changed the game. On the surface of Iliara, alien defense cannons fired in coordination with human orbital strikes. Dominion ships faltered as Earth fleet signatures appeared on their sensors. The car had expected fear. They found alliance. They had expected weakness. They found creativity. Inside the chamber, Merok watched the battlefield unfold across the hologram. He turned slowly to Ethan. "In our records," Merok said softly, "there has never been a species that turns near extinction into advantage." Ethan's reply was simple. "We practice." Above the planet, a Dominion cruiser erupted into light as human torpedoes breached its hull. The balance of power shifted, not because of bigger guns, but because of one truth spreading rapidly across secure channels. Sarath Venom no longer guaranteed death. The Dominion's terror weapon was finished. And without fear. Empires crack. Merok lowered his head respectfully. "Today," he said, "humanity has not only survived." He looked directly at Ethan. "You have changed the rules of the galaxy." Ethan felt exhaustion finally claim him as medics guided him toward treatment again. He allowed himself one final glance at the stars through the cracked dome. The war was not over. The Dominion would return. Sleth Varrowan was still free. And Earth scientists now had a new challenge, to turn one man's desperate adaptation into a shield for billions. But tonight, something powerful had been proven. Human blood was not fragile. Human biology was not weakness. Human creativity was not chaos. It was evolution in motion. And the galaxy had just learned something important. If you corner a human, if you leave them with no cure, they will build one, out of themselves. And they will share it with everyone willing to stand beside them. The war for Iliara had only begun. But for the first time in centuries, the Dominion felt something new. Uncertainty. And humanity was just getting started.